Hello, welcome to the Church Brand Guide podcast. This is a podcast where I want to help you to create a brand that cuts through the noise to reach the people that you are pursuing. Ultimately, we want to help you get more people coming to your church. As a result of that, see more life change take place. And from that, see more people contributing to your vision. That's really what the goal of this podcast is. I want to share with you a lot of what I've learned over the years as a communications director, as a and also as an agency owner, where I help multiple churches across the country to create brands, and I get to see amazing results happening from this. Everything from increases in giving. One church reported a 27% increase in giving after they went through the branding process, and we put some things online to make things easier. We've also seen other churches report that they've seen up to like a 20 or 30% increase in people coming to the church after the branding process, just because we're able to be more clear, get their marketing all lined up, and get them all set up well. So hopefully this helps you today. We're going to be jumping into a conversation about Christwalk Church. This is a brand that we did. I think it's very helpful. So uh, for people to see examples of the branding process and actually see the results. So today, that's what it is. We're going to walk through the process step by step of the Christwalk Church logo design. This is actually part of a webinar that I did, a live webinar. So we had a couple people ask some questions. Towards the end of this recording, you'll hear some of that. You'll probably also see or listen to with the webinar, I'm showing the screen. So I do webinars. If you're part of my email list, you'll get notifications of those webinars that we do on a regular basis. So if you're not on my email list, hop on there. Love to let you in on those. The webinars allow me to take your questions, and it's more of an interactive experience. And then I'll post it on the podcast. I might post the webinar afterwards. But if you can get in there live, it's really great to be able to ask specific questions. So so one other thing to mention is that I do mention a course. I do have a course that I've created to take you through this step by step. So if you're going through the branding process, it's a great investment to make sure you get this right for your church. It's just a step-by-step guide. There's resources and tools to help you go through this process as well. So it'll just equip you to lead. If you're a designer, it'll help you to lead the leadership. Or if you're like a pastor, it'll help you to lead the designer. So everything works together, and you get the results that you want. So let's jump into this episode. We're going to talk about Christwalk Church today and the process to create their new branding. We did this about a year ago, so enjoy the episode. So hey, welcome. I want to walk you through this branding project that we went through with Christwalk Church. Christwalk is a church in the Jacksonville, Florida area. And they came to us with this idea that, hey, they want to create a fresh brand to reach a culture in that area that they've been missing out on. Basically, it's a younger demographic. A new pastor came in. He was about a year into taking over the church. And so with that, he wanted to honor what had been there for well over 30 years. And then build on top of it. Not really like get rid of everything, but just shift everything in a new direction with a new brand. And he thought by stepping into a brand, he can take his vision that he had and then create a visual representation of that. That's kind of my words. He didn't say that coming into it, but that's kind of the big idea. How do we take his vision, make it a thing that people can see? So we went through this process, and let me walk you through the process of branding, so that we can understand kind of step 1, step 2, step 3, and how to get this done well for your church, so that you're able to get this done. So go ahead and mute if you're not on mute right now. If you're on the call, there you go. That way, there we go. So the way that we want to do this is, first of all, we want to find out what the target audience is. So in my branding course, I've got this course that in it talks you through like step by step how to do this. We always want to start off with a questionnaire. So the questionnaire asks basic questions about the church and about the brand, and it gets really deep into what are we trying to do, what are we trying to accomplish. One of the key questions that we ask is, what is the vision that you have for the future? Like, what's the vision? What are you trying to accomplish as a ministry? So is your vision to help people to live a better story? That's kind of what ours is down here in South Florida, to help people to live a better story. Or what, how would you say that? So the vision is in the future, you want to see many families in the community living a better story, something along those lines. And then what are you doing right now? So another question might be, what do you do to help that vision become a reality? And then out of that answer, we can start to then formulate the right colors, the right fonts, the right graphic design, that type of thing. So let me show you what this looks like. We have a questionnaire again that we go through. And then there's 18 questions, and every single time I work with a new church that's going through a branding process, we ask these questions. And it just gives me a lot as a designer. It gives me a lot to work with. And as a part of the thing too, if you're working with leadership, church leadership, you want them to be a part of this process. Like, you don't want to just be like Christmas where you go away and then you come back with this logo design and you give it to them and you're hoping for the best. You're hoping they like it. That's not what it is. What you want to do is invite the leadership into the process early on the front end of it, so that when you finally get to the logo design, you're just presenting something back to them that they already have talked about. So the way you do that is by asking the right questions and helping them feel valued. So if you're a pastor out there, you want a designer that's going to listen to your insights. If you say, hey, listen, I'm open to anything except purple. I don't like purple. Okay, fine. That's great. The designer needs to know that going into it, so they don't show you a purple design, right? So we need to do that. Another big part of the questionnaire is really discovering your target audience. So in branding world, a target audience really drives the design. So the logo that's on my screen right now, I'm just going to flip through a few of these slide decks so we can start to maybe talk around some of this. But the logo that I'm presenting on my screen right now is designed to reach a specific audience. So it's designed for in a specific direction to reach a specific audience, and that's what gives it the look and the feel. It's what helps me to choose the right font for this design. It's what helps me to choose the color scheme for this design. So we are trying to reach a target audience with Christwalk Church of young parents in the area that are more laid back and relaxed. So this is not an inner city area. They are out on an island. So it's more of a relaxed vibe, a more relaxed environment. So they're trying to reach people that are more laid back, relaxed. They are professionals, but they're more laid back, more leisurely in how they approach life in general. So that's the target audience conversation. And again, we have a process that I go through, and let me show you some of that. This is our target audience worksheet that I go through again with every client. Basically, I ask them who's a target audience, like describe them to me. So if you're going to create an avatar, like who would this person be? And so we have these like they're married with kids or professionals. They have a house. They live in a certain area code, anything like that. Just tell me about your audience. And then also, what do they value and what are some of their beliefs? So we want to capture all that stuff. So the design, the way I say it is that people, you as a church leader should like your logo design, your branding, but your community, the people you're trying to reach, they should love it. Like, it should be designed with them in mind, so that they are able to relate to it. So that's kind of a tip, by the way, as you're designing, as you're going through the logo process. We want to take our opinions out of the process as much as possible. And we want to make sure we point people, we point the branding, the design decisions towards the audience that we're trying to reach. And let me just say it, I always kind of say it when we have this target audience conversation, but it's this idea that from a spiritual perspective, everybody's welcome to the church. I'm sure you would want that. You would agree with it. But from a branding perspective, if you try to target everyone, you try to create a logo that appeals to everyone, it's going to be a mess. And honestly, nobody's going to really love it. What you want is for somebody, some type of people to say, wow, I love that. Everybody may not say that, but if you get the right people to say it, then that's where you get a lot of momentum from a brand. So again, this is the target audience worksheet that we go through. We want to describe the audience, some of their struggles that they have. We want to describe us as a brand and position us as a brand, the church, to be a guide to this specific audience. So we want to show empathy and authority. We want to have a journey, a pathway for them to go down. And again, we're not even talking about logo design yet. This is before the logo design. So I want to encourage you, get this stuff nailed down with the church leadership. Let's start there. Because when we do, we're not basing it on our opinions. What we're doing is we're basing design decisions on the strategy that it's going to take to actually reach the audience that we're trying to reach. So a good tip too with the target audience is that it could be a mindset. It could be a mindset of people that want to make a difference in the world, or it could be a mindset of people that need purpose in their life, or it could be a mindset of people that need hope. So your brand could be built around this idea of giving people hope. So the colors, the fonts, all that stuff could be designed around this idea of hope. So that's kind of what we're looking for. We're not looking for necessarily a 22-year-old female that's in college or something like that. We're not looking for that type of thing. It's more of a mindset that could bridge the gap between generations and kind of connect some dots there. So a good example of this is Apple computers. They reach out to people that think different. So the whole brand is built around this idea of people that think different. So that reaches across, a bunch of different cultures, a bunch of different demographics and, age groups and all that stuff, because it's creative people that they try to reach and target. So with Christwalk Church, we're tapping into these vacationing, they live there, so they're not vacationing, but it's kind of a vacation area. So it's more of a laid back type area. So that's where a lot of the design decisions came from. So we're using a font, and I'll give you some specifics here. The font is called Knockout. It's a condensed font that pulls together. It's trendy, it's modern, but it's clean. It's clean enough to where it doesn't look too trendy. Like it's not going to go out of date, out of style in about 10 years or so. It'll be around for a while. The mark here, the arrows pointing upwards. Of course, it's an upward movement. So upward, we're pointing people upwards towards God, towards Jesus. And we're also asking people to follow. So there's two arrows. So it's a follow me type of mentality. So the way that the vision, the mission, the way that this church does ministry is a follow me mentality. So big on small groups. Hey, if you found Jesus, go find somebody else who needs Jesus, invite them in. That's our model. So this is reflecting that. We chose a circle because it's a soft shape. It's more relational. So this church is more relational in their approach to ministry. Some churches are more what I would call structural. So maybe I would use a different shape that's more rigid or has more structure to it. But this church has just a more laid back vibe. The color scheme is interesting too. Like it's designed to reflect kind of a beach mentality. So we've got some browns in there, the blues. We've got kind of a turquoise blue, some greens going on. So growth is a big idea for these guys. So I like green because it represents growth, but it's a specific type of green that's a little bit more washed out. It's not super saturated because we're trying to reach an audience, again, who's more relaxed, laid back. It's in a beach community. So we want to reflect kind of the area that they're in. So we want to communicate this idea of like, hey, we get you, we understand you. And so we can relate to our audience that we're trying to reach. So again, everything we talked about so far, we're not really talking about our own opinions. We're talking about what's necessary. So Jesus said, hey, follow me and I will teach you how to fish for men. And that means we need to know the fish, where they're at, what kind of bait they're going to use. How do we target them and reach them where they are? And branding really helps us to think along those lines. How do we fish? How do we go after them where they are so they'll come and then hear the message that we have? So let me show you a couple more things. If you have some questions, please feel free to type them in the chat. I'll be sure to jump into it. These are some other logo examples. I think it's nice to see like, hey, what are some other concepts that we came up with? This is kind of similar in the ballpark of what we showed you earlier, but we ended up going with a more simplified approach. So we kind of presented some of this stuff, we simplified it more, and ended up coming up with what we did. I like to do mock-ups as well. So if you're designing a logo, or if you're a pastor that's getting a logo designed, I find it helpful to have mock-ups that you can actually try it on a little bit, on an actual t-shirt and kind of see what it looks like. By the way, just a little tip for you. There's a place, a website called placeit.com, where it allows you to throw logos onto different things. So you can create these mock-ups really easy. There is a fee. They have a free version, but there's a fee. I pay for it because I do this all day, every day. But go ahead and if that's something that's going to help you, you can just pay for it for a short amount of time, and it'll help you try on some things. Again, I have a whole course that I do on church branding. Go to churchbrandguide.com, and you'll be able to find the course there. There's a lot of insights. I give you a lot of like the questions and stuff like that. I want to give you a lot of resources within the course so that you have what you need to then go through the branding process with your church. So the questionnaire is in there. There's another piece that's in there where I'm let me see if I have it up here. Yeah, so this is another big piece. We talk about this I'll probably create a whole separate video on the brand journey. But this is, again, just getting more understanding about the brand and who we are so that we can design things properly, like the website. Like, what's the website need to have on it? Well, this helps us to figure out what is that website experience needing to be. Once we know the journey we're trying to take people through, then we can create the right experience for them to help them get there. So again, branding is way bigger than a logo. It's thinking way outside of just the logo design. And we're thinking holistically. How do you create a website experience, a social media experience, videos, facilities that all kind of represent this idea of the brand? By the way, that reminds me, with Christwalk, we went through and created their facilities. Let me see if I can find a couple of the facility graphics, so I can just kind of show you some of that as we're talking through this. So the facility basically is something that the actual campus, the parking lot, the street signs, the lobby, the kids areas, all of that is going to be part of the brand. So we want to make sure it flows, because when you do that, that's where you build trust. And we want to build trust with our audience so that they end up trusting us as a brand to the point where they say, hey, I want to be part of this. So getting people to show up is half the battle. Getting them to stick is the other part of it. And the way we do that is by really being consistent with our experience in all different areas, so that we are able to build that trust, so that they stick around. Here we go. So these are some mock-ups. So basically the church just sent me some pictures of the building. And then what I did is I went around and I created these little mock-ups. So you can kind of see here, this is the exterior of the building. They've got these nice columns going on. So I created these large graphics. They're probably 8 foot by 8 foot graphics that have their statement, their journey statements on there. So the idea is that people can understand them even before they come into the building. Most people are going to make a decision. Just about everybody makes a decision whether or not they're going to come back within the first 5 minutes. So it's before they have that conversation, they're making a decision. So the facility really needs to speak to it. So we're revamping some of the signage that's in the parking lot. We're going through the lobby and creating new navigational signs throughout the building and throughout the facility. Again, these are just mock-ups. I just got pictures from the church, and then I was able to mock them up so that we can make sure we get things positioned well. Navigation is huge, by the way. If you're saying that you're a church that welcomes new people, then you need to let people know where things are. Like, new people don't know. So if you want to be a church that invites new people, make sure that we have good navigation. But it's part of the brand. Like, this green color is being displayed throughout the facility as we create, all these different navigational elements. And then we're just finding opportunities to put more branding up on the facility. So we're, adding a sign that's maybe above the main entrance. This is the main entrance, by the way, of this church that goes into the lobby. And so we added some decals to the windows and a little statement up there that says "You belong here." So it looks like the main entrance. Then we have a kids area where we're just kind of revamping some of the kids areas. We're painting one of these walls green. This is it's basically a beige wall. So I just kind of mocked up, hey, let's paint the wall green in the lobby so it draws attention. So it's the brand color of green. And then we're going to put some of the vision statements and the mission statements and some of the value statements on the wall. So it's up on display as people are walking through the environments and learning about the church and making that decision that they want to come back. We even designed like a focal wall as part of the lobby experience with the logo. This is a badge version of the logo. So if I go back to the logo design concept, a lot of times what I like to do, if it makes sense, is to provide a badge version. A badge is just kind of a rubber stamp version of the logo. It's not the corporate version. I consider this like the corporate version, the full logo with the mark. But then a badge version is something that's more fun and playful, and you can kind of throw it on a coffee mug or a t-shirt, something like that. And in the mock-ups, I try to display like, here's what that might look like. Somebody would probably buy that that badge logo because they think it looks cool. So again, just something for you to consider as you go through the process. Again, I have a whole course on this. If you want to check that out at churchbrandguide.com, you can actually go directly to the course by typing in course.churchbrandguide.com. If you need any further information about that, let me know. But it's there to help people go through this process. It's why I created it. I've had lots and lots of conversations with churches all across the country. Some of them, I've worked with hundreds of churches, but a lot of times a church may not be able to afford an agency or somebody like me to come in and do all this stuff. So I wanted to create a course to equip them. And that's why that course is there. Right now, it's $250 to get the course. So just to kind of let you know about it. Anyway, that's available for you. Then one final thing I wanted to do was kind of wrap things up here. But let me show you one more. This is one more design concept. I just wanted to show you, like, it's all not like, bam, there it is. We go through a bunch of different iterations. This is one of the very, very early iterations of the church logo. And we went from here to a whole bunch of directions, but I just wanted to show you again, like, what this process looks like. It is a process. Even for professionals, somebody like me that does this all day, every day, there's a process, and we try different looks, and then we come back. So this is one of the looks where we're like, hey, what if we push this all the way and went really, really trendy? What would this look like? What would this design start to look like? So we went really, really trendy, and then we pulled it back a little bit. We're like, oh, that's a little bit too much. Whoops. Let me see if I can cut that down there. We said, no, that's a little bit too much. Let's not do that. Let's pull it back. So that's where we ended up with the actual version of the logo that we are using for the church. Again, I'm going to wrap this up here in just a few minutes, but if you do have any questions about this, the process of designing the brand for the church, please let me know. Hopefully I want to give you some insights that will open up your horizons to think through this process and put emphasis on that front end of it, where you're really getting buy-in from the church leadership, so that they are able to give their input early on in the process. From that, you can then present them with the logo designs. And by the way, it's a presentation. You want to present the branding to them. It's not just like send them an email with an attachment and say, what do you think? No, it's, if you're designing, like, there's a process, there's a big process behind the design. What you want to do is point back to, like, hey, we chose green because it's important for us as a church to help people to grow. So green is a great color. And then, hey, the green is shifted. It's not a really bright, vibrant green. It's shifted to like a more desaturated green, because we want to represent a little bit more our culture, our beach vibe that's in this area. So you want to be able to unpack that story, and your leadership, they'll be like, yeah, I like it. Or they'll be like, man, I don't really like it. Or they'll give you some feedback. And then from that feedback, again, I showed you some examples of things that did not work, but you work together as a team. It's not me versus you, my opinion versus your opinion. It's like, hey, what's best for the church? How do we come together and really unpack what needs to be unpacked so that we can design something that represents well? So anyway, let me ask one more time if there's any questions you have. I know I had some internet issues going on, so we lost some people there on that one, but I'm going to send this out as a replay so that if you didn't get a chance to jump in there, then at least you'll have the replay for it. So that's the story behind the Christwalk Church. I am going to set this up as a blog post on my website as well. So if you wanted to see the actual logos a little bit more closely, you can go to the churchbrandguide.com, check out the blog, And I'll probably post this video on that blog as well so that you can reference it. Well, hey, thank you for joining me. I'm going to be doing this on a regular basis, like every couple weeks or so, where I share maybe a logo concept or a design or a brand that we've done recently and unpack the process behind it. So be on the lookout for that. I'll be sending out emails on a regular basis. Check out our social media on Instagram and just be aware of some of those dates that are coming up. So, hey, thanks for joining me today. Again, if you have any questions, let me know before we close it out.
Hey, Michael, how are you?
Oh, there we go. Hey, I'm doing well. How are you? What's your name?
Good. This is Will. I'm here with Alexis Stewart too. We kind of like Alexis takes care of the communications of our church, and I take care of a lot of the graphic design. And we are on a rebranding journey here at our church in Orlando. And one of our biggest like challenges is that our leadership wants a logo before we talk about even audience or mission and vision statements. They want a logo design before doing that. So have you ever encountered any clients who want that first and, the other important part later?
Yeah, for sure. So I'll give you a couple stories with that. So yes, I was going into a big branding process with a church or a bigger church. Actually, it had maybe a couple thousand people coming on the weekend. And we started going through the branding process and I started asking them all these questions. And they're like, I don't know. I don't know. And they were like, we should probably know this stuff. So the questionnaire, I guess, what would help you begin to unpack or at least unpack to your leadership, hey, what's necessary for us to then design this brand so that it's on point. So if you get the questionnaire and kind of go through that with your leadership, that'll help you quite a bit. So that church I was talking about, they actually said, hey, time out. We are not ready for this. And they actually took some time to figure out their mission vision, and they came back later, like a year later. And then we continued the process once they had some of that. So that's one story. Another story is there are churches, church plants and younger churches that are just like, hey, we got to get something up. And we really don't know our vision and our mission yet. Like, we're too young. We just don't know exactly what we're trying to do. So we can design in a direction. Like, they might know that they want to go after, a certain type of audience, like, hey, people that need purpose in their life. Actually, that's Vibrant Church down here in South Florida. We're in Fort Lauderdale. We wanted to reach out to people that lack purpose. And the way our church is set up, our pastor preaches along the lines of like very practical, like, hey, here's how you apply Psalm 23 to your life, like just very practical type of stuff. So we designed a logo concept that's really a branding concept that's really designed after that mindset. So I think it's possible. And then you can come back later and add in the vision state, the official vision statement and mission statement and some of those things. But if you can get the general direction of like, this is the audience that we feel we are called to serve. This is the type of church that we are. Maybe you're a big Bible study type church. Maybe you're a different type of church where small groups are a big deal and relationships are a big deal. Well, you can still create brands around those concepts. You can choose colors and fonts and design around those concepts. And then when the official statement or whatever gets put together, like, it'll be in the right direction.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Hey, thanks for joining me on this episode today. I hope this branding journey with Christwalk Church helps you to walk through the process. If you're going through this process or about ready to go through this process with your church, I hope that's a great help to you today. I do have the course that we've mentioned today that is available. Go to churchbrandguide.com. You'll be able to access that course. It's a great investment that'll make sure you get this right. You'll just have the resources you need to equip you to go through this process and to get it right. Hey, I'd love for you to subscribe to the Church Brand Guide podcast if you haven't already. Please leave a review. That helps it to be ranked higher so that more people can hear it. I'd really appreciate it. There's a lot of energy that goes into this. That's if you wanted to kind of give back, so to speak, I'd love that review. Thanks for joining me. Go to churchbrandguide.com if you need to connect at all. I do services as well. If you need to go through this process, we can have a conversation and see if I might be able to help you out with it. Thanks again for joining me. My name is Michael with Church Brand Guide. I'll see you next time.